There's an opening in maintenance. Are you here to replace him? I'm sure you'll be a great fit in taking on the grave ship.
In the start of a few FNAF games, there's always a newspaper regarding a job opening at Freddy's, in this case, maintenance work. And building off of the next line, Afton says that Kramer would fit in nicely with the night shift, but refers to it as a grave shift, that probably rhyme better with replace him, and also, you know, killing him.
You'll disappear like clockwork, another missing victim slain. I am not your doctor, I will actually pick your brain.
Afton basically says that Kramer will disappear like the rest of his victims. Not super nuanced or anything, just saying that it'll kill him. Easy. Afton saying this is a little ironic given that he's standing directly in front of his victims. Not even like indirectly, he's right in front of them. Not only is this Afton saying he'll disassemble him from the info from his brain, but also Kramer's doctors let his tumor grow a nose because of a failure from his x-ray, mistaking it for someone else's scan, thus letting it grow too much too late.
You try to puzzle police, but it doesn't take a detective to spot what you call your calling. In life is purely deceptive.
Kramer's little torch or whatever is mostly target police or detectives and whatnot, and intentionally leave hints to leave law enforcement away from figuring out what the hell he's doing. He does this by literally pulling a chunk of the victim's skin in the shape of a puzzle piece, but also Afton is calling Kramer's work fucking stupid, which will lead into the next lines. Behind Afton is a few game cabinets, one of them being Polybius, a kind of old legend about an evil and fucked up game cabinet. That's all, I just thought it was cool.
You preach the murderous putrid while brutalizing the innocent. You and the feds are too stupid to figure out who the killer is.
Kramer's whole logic of his games is punishing those who've done wrong, but also captures people who've done petty crimes or ruined their life intentionally, like smoking or suicide, and making them realize that life's worth it via the games. So basically, Afton's calling Kramer a hypocrite for this. He's brutalizing the innocent. And thus, the police are too stupid to catch Kramer, the police in the FNAF movie are too stupid to catch Afton, and Jigsaw's whole philosophy sucks in general. It's again funny that Afton mentions Jigsaw brutalizing the innocent while fixing Foxy, one of his victims. Also, I forgot to write this in the script, but behind him, Foxy's eye glows. I was gonna mention that, but I didn't.
My mind is unmatchable. If you act out of order, I feel you hysterical.
How do you fix a breaking animatronic? Yeah, shock the shit out of him.
I've been the one building bands in my basement that take the imagine and make it the actual.
Afton takes credit for his and Henry's work of creating Fazbear Entertainment's characters, making, of course, the imagined characters of him and Henry, and, you know, making them real. Taking the imagined and making it the actual.
Your game never had a goal. You got chased by the cops. Now you turn them to murderers. Seems like your formula won't ever change. You hide while the pigs do the dirty work.
Since it was already mentioned that a lot of Kramer's games involve the police, it's no shock that throughout the Saw movies, Kramer often manipulates cops to do his bidding for him. Kramer usually gets the help of other people to do stuff that would usually get his hands dirty, drugging people for an example, and these little helpers usually don a pig mask. This line also refers to police as well, given how cops are often referred to as pigs.
You're the one who's wasted your second chance to live, Kramer. Right. Next time you're driven to the edge, ditch the cliffhanger.
Kramer failed to commit suicide when his son died and his cancer worsened, so his new devoted lifestyle, being towards delivering justice, is to Afton a waste. And that when he initially tried to kill himself, he should have followed through and not hang on by a thread like a little bitch pussy. Afton saying this is also hypocritical of him, given his consistent theme of coming back from the dead, and Afton wasted it by burning up like a little bitch pussy. Afton also puts on his Springtrap head at the end of the verse, like we get onto the first FNAF movie when Afton gets spring locked, putting on his head at the end.
William, you spend your life finding children to kidnap. Now a costume consumes you. Think of it as a spring trap.
William Afton infamously killed children in search of immortality. He also got spring locked into a costume and became Springtrap, so this also means that the locks consumed him or trapped him. And the video itself shows Springtrap in full for the first time right after this line is said.
They couldn't prove their guilt, but here's a trial you can walk from. You have 30 seconds before you're finally locked up.
Afton was never convicted of any of his murders, and so he technically walked away from his trial and was found not guilty. This is also a double entendre because Jigsaw games are typically seen as trials, and there is a reference to how Kramer introduces his traps to his victims with a timer, with the 30 seconds before you're locked up.
You had a partner, took his idea, said it was yours. Most of the suits coming from you end up in port.
Afton sold many of Henry and Edwin's designs, although the line is likely just referring to Henry. And the suits can mean lawsuits, which could maybe be a reference to the Pizza Simulator lawsuits, but also spring lock suit inventions, such as the many spring lock lawsuit cases that occurred because of how faulty and dangerous they were.
Built up your home on top of the bones of what the business is. I think we both already know who the mimic is.
Afton literally made Edwin's old home into his own family home. Also, Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, or Sea Bear for short, is quite literally underneath of Afton's house. This also refers to the second half of this line, how the Mimic is the new villain of FNAF replacing Afton, and the likelihood of Afton's, not house, but pizzeria, Freddy's, being on top of Murray's costume manor.
I give life to the misguided through means they can barely stomach. I have never trapped a subject as big as fear is the puppet.
Kramer famously punishes the misguided people who have wronged others in life, which gives them a new perspective and allowing them to become better people, although heavily traumatized if they pass. This is also a reference to Billy the Puppet from the Saw films, or just the puppet from FNAF, given that it is the most powerful being in the franchise and gives life to the animatronics, which is what haunts Afton and makes him curious, which leads him to killing more kids. And then the video shows multiple people in different saw traps.
Your control addiction is honestly not a shock to me. You're haunted by the thought that your victims retain autonomy.
This references how Afton is always in a need of control in any situation because he's so narcissistic. Control, shock being a reference to the controlled shocks from Sister Location, being a heavily memed on thing in the community. And then you're haunted by the thought that your victims retain autonomy is referencing how the victims that Afton slashed retain life in the animatronics, which leaves him curious and leads him to destroying them. And then the video shows Afton falling over and likely being spring-locked, I think, in this iteration, at least, of the video, which is what happens after the spirits corner Afton and force him into the spring Bonnie suit after he destroys those animatronics.
Your son got crispy through the sign first by the bite of 87 through the parents' fire. When he scooped your daughter and her body runs insane. Or you call them pizzerias, but they're still just family diners.
References and outright mentions to deaths of Afton's children, such as the bite of 83, where Crying Child's skull got crushed by Fredbear, and in around 1985-ish, when Elizabeth got scooped by Circus Baby and killed. And also just an outright mention of the bite of 87. Drawing the parents' fire likely means an outrage, which caused the animatronics to only be allowed to roam around at night. And then Family Diners is probably just Kramer poking fun at the fact that Afton and his family were brought closer together than ever, but in a very sick and twisted way because of the deaths in the family all occurring at pizzerias. The video shows the aftermath of the bite of 83 on one monitor and the aftermath of the bite of 87 on another. Behind Kramer, you can actually see a timer counting down to when Afton's trap at the end of the video catches on fire and kills him.
You forgot one thing, Kramer. I always come back.
What? You got cut off. What did you say? Well, what he was gonna say was, I always come back, which is of course an obvious reference to the line after it's most quoted from, and of course how he always manages to come back despite dying.
So you wanna look at me and give me lessons on finding the key to live? Bend your life like it's a wheel to spin. Death came from me and I vetoed it.
Afton's life force is mostly held on by fucking tape and sticks, and he loves to take it in stride because of how ginormous his ego is. So Kramer telling Afton how to live is to Afton fucking useless. But this could also be referencing how multiple traps in Saw use keys to live. Players have to find the key to live. And then the next line is probably referencing the cycle trap in Saw 8, and then Afton keeps inflating his stupid ego by saying he's still alive like he doesn't die later in the same damn video.
Many stitches in this feeble twig. He's a jigsaw when doctors are treating him. The only thing that's in the needle pin is the body once the anesthesia hits.
Kramer's had a lot of surgeries since this whole cancer thing, so stitches of course come after surgeries, you know? And Afton uses this to say that his body is like a jigsaw puzzle, all the stitches keeping him in place and acting as one. The line after references a pit full of needles, a trap in Saw 2, specifically surgical needles, and anesthesia is usually carried out through these needles. And Kramer has fucking cancer and needs surgeries, hence why it's mentioned.
Cancer kept on spreading. I'm until it crushed your future with all those flashy eggs. Could they not cut your tumor?
Kramer eventually succumbs to his cancer, which crushed his second life, so to speak, so he couldn't carry out his justice sermon. Some movies also have flashy cuts and edits near the end of traps to increase tension, so Afton's saying that with how many cuts occur in these edits, why couldn't the doctors operating him not get rid of his tumor? As Afton mentions his tumor growing, the background visibly grows more red, which could be a nod to his own line. Or maybe not, and they just wanted a cool aesthetic.
I'm amazed you stay awake with that frontal lobe. At least since your kid died, you witnessed something grow.
Kramer has cancer. That's the line. But this also goes into Kramer's kid being the result of a miscarriage and then his tumor growing. But the frontal lobe mention could also be a nod to the bite of 87 and also the bite of 83. Fredbear biting the crying child's head in 83 and either Toy Chica or Mangle biting a victim's head in 87.
Come read the band, you'll be a great feeling for the other empty husks empowered by dead children.
The animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's have the bodies of missing kids inside of them, hence empty husks empowered by dead children. But one of Kimber's motivators was the miscarriage of his son, hence an empty husk empowered by his dead child. As Afton says this, the video shows the Hood delivering gifts, specifically life, to dead kids in the minigame Give Gifts, Give Life. So, Puppet's gift giving is empowered by dead children? A lot of motherfuckers be empowered by dead kids these days, dude. It's crazy.
You were left in pieces once your son's spirit was untethered in hell. You'll see him, Jigsaw, but I will put you back together.
Guess what this line refers to? Yeah, it's Kramer's dead fucking kid. So this line essentially says that Afton will kill Kramer, he'll see a son in hell, and put him back together, which references what Afton said to the crying child on his deathbed, specifically in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Afton also says this while directly killing Kramer, specifically stomping on him, which could be a reference to the Five Nights at Freddy's fan game The Glitched Attraction, where his jump scare is Afton stomping on the player.
Figured you'd resort to killing. My death is said to shut off all power within the building.
Kramer, figuring Afton would resort to killing, is likely him poking fun at his typicalness of being a coward and killing either first or second hand, whether it be guards, his own kids, his own family, or himself. And then death to shut off all power in the building is a reference to the power outages in Five Nights at Freddy's, and Kramer just being a genius with his contingency plans and all. And the video shows Billy the Puppet being wheeled in to rap, indicating that Springtrap has killed Kramer. And then the video is also in complete darkness, indicating that the power has indeed gone out, according to Kramer.
Resistance won't stop you from being pulled into hell. You've only made your body move because you're full of yourself.
Afton is known for always coming back until his spirit is sent to hell or a hospital and then explodes and then drowns in a lake. Whatever you want to take from that. And then Afton is quite literally and metaphorically full of himself. The Springtrap suit being full of Afton's corpse, and Afton being very narcissistic and self-grandiose and theatrical. This is obvious in FNAF AR, Pizza Sim, the FNAF movie. He's just a very narcissistic guy who's full of himself.
Lost a piece of your humanity with each child you chopped up. You've been a walking zombie long before those locks shut.
Afton, once being a respected man of business, slowly descends into madness with every single murder that he commits, becoming more and more fascinated with the idea of immortality. The bar, "You've been a walking zombie long before those locks shut," is referencing how he's so full of himself and he lost so much of his self-respect and humanity that he basically had nothing left but a monster inside him, metaphorically speaking, before literally becoming a walking zombie, that being Springtrap. The video itself shows references to the puppet and Charlie's murder, which is a child he killed directly, and then it also shows Circus Baby possessed by his daughter Elizabeth, which he indirectly killed due to negligence. The video also shows Foxy Go Go Go, at least a recreation of it, which is a minigame from FNAF 2 in which Foxy witnesses 5 dead children with William Afton in the same room. Finally, the video in this bar also shows a replica of the good or bad ending of FNAF 3, which has the heads of Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie lying on the ground in that order.
So, ask yourself, was it really worth it to maintain a soul with nothing left that's worth preserving?
Kramer here is asking Afton if it was worth coming back at all when he had none of his humanity left and was just a walking zombie.
Let's not keep the devil waiting right now. You're feeling hopeless, so I'll end communication like the family you've broken.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack in this one little bar, so let me go through it. This is a reference to Henry's speech in Pizza Simulator where he says, "Don't keep the devil waiting, old friend."
Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
There's also a reference to where the final line in Henry's speech is end communication.
This ends, for all of us, in communication.
And then Family You've Broken references 3 things actually. How Afton broke up his own family with his own inventions, ending their communication. Afton murdering Henry's daughter, Charlie, and she was part of the pizza sim fire, and one of the spirits laid to rest after Henry says end communication. Or the least likely of which this is referring to, or most likely, depending on how you want to look at it and how mentally ill you are, the Murray family, since Afton had a hand in destroying Edwin's family and Fiona, in which she mentions at the end of the game, Secret of the Mimic, how Edwin severed all communications with her and just his whole family after everything went down.
If you paid attention to the world around you, you never noticed you're trapped inside a box that nobody can open.
This referencing how Afton is too full of himself and narcissistic and theatrical to even pay attention to the world around him at all, like in Pizza Sim, where he was way too full of himself to notice that it was a trap, indicated by this piece of dialogue.
What a deceptive calling. I knew it was a lie the moment I heard it, obviously, but it is intriguing nonetheless.
This bar is also referencing the literal trap Afton is shown inside of in the video, and the FNAF 4 box, which is the biggest mystery in FNAF since nobody, including Scott Cawthon, the creator of the franchise, knows what's inside. And I can't stress this enough, it's because he forgot. And the video has a lot of references, like Afton looking around the room he's sealed inside of, finally noticing his trap, the room heating up and catching on fire, before showing an 8-bit depiction of what is happening, being a reference to the several 8-bit minigames in the FNAF franchise, like from FNAF 2, 3, 4, 6th Location, the movie, and so on and so forth. The video also shows quick shots of Afton's mouth being open with his eyes blackened, which is more than likely a reference to the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 rare screens of Springtrap that quickly flash on screen. The ending of the video shows Springtrap's charred corpse as one of his fingers falls down. While this isn't really too similar to anything in the franchise, the only thing I could really see this being a reference to, visually at least, is Dark Springtrap from the ending of Sister Location, just because of the state of Springtrap, and he's not quite Scrap Trap yet, so that's what I'm willing to bet my money on. Otherwise, I do believe it is an original shot just for this video. And finally, the motif for Hello Zepp, the main Saw theme, also plays during this whole sequence.
Performance room more horrible than Megan Fox's acting.